Wingardium Leviosa. How's it going, everyone? My name is George, and today we are starting a new review series. It's one of my all-time favorite franchises, a franchise I've been watching for over 20 years since I was 5 years old, and I've been following probably longer than any other movie franchise or any franchise in general because it's not just about movies, it's about the books and even the video games. It's the Harry Potter franchise. We are starting off with the first one, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone, depending on where you live. And this film was directed by Chris Columbus, who is known for directing the Home Alone movies. And this is our introduction to the Harry Potter world. This covers Harry Potter's first year at Hogwarts. This is based off the first Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, written by J.K. Rowling. And this is the start of it all. This is the film that, or first book, depending on how you look at it. It's basically the beginning of Harry's 7 year saga. And in this film, we are introduced to Harry Potter, and he's living with the Dursleys, who are the worst kind of people ever. And he then gets his letter to Hogwarts and learns that his parents went there and that he's really a wizard. And he goes to Hogwarts and meets new friends as well as some new enemies, and is learning how to be a wizard and learns the truth about his parents' death, why he's famous in this world, why he has the scar on his head. So, like I said, this is a franchise I've been following for over 20 years. It's a franchise my sister got me into. She read the Harry Potter books, and of course, she wanted to see Sorcerer's Stone. And I've loved this franchise since then. I remember playing the PlayStation 1 games of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. I've been following this franchise for so many years. And for like the first four films, I watched those movies before I read the books, and yeah, I did also read the books like later on. So I've always loved this franchise. And it was the movies that got me into it. So obviously I love the movies as well. And I love Chris Columbus's direction in the first two films. It's a direction that I didn't appreciate at first, but as I've gotten older and rewatched Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets more times, I've grown to appreciate that direction because compared to the other Harry Potter movies based off the later books, Sorcerer's Stone to me is probably the most faithful adaptation. Chris Columbus, when he was writing the screenplay, was also reading the book when they were doing the screenplay for this movie. So there definitely was a better understanding compared to some of the other directors, like Mike Newell, who directed Goblet of Fire, and we'll get into that when we review Goblet of Fire. Although I do love Goblet of Fire, so that'll be an interesting review. But Chris Columbus, his attention to detail really works in this film because this is the film that has to set up this franchise. If this film fails, and Chris Columbus has even addressed this in interviews, then the whole thing's going to fail. So you're establishing this world, you're creating these set pieces that are also going to be used in the other films, and they do such a great job at it. The Grey Hall, it's the same Grey Hall we're going to see in the later movies with different directors. Privet Drive, it's going to be the same. Diagon Alley. Like, everything that they're setting up, they put a lot of effort and money into it, and it paid off so well because this movie made a ton of money at the time. At one point, I think it was the fourth or fifth highest grossing film worldwide by the time this film was done with its box office run. Another thing is the cast. You got to set up the cast. You got to figure out what young actors are, child actors are going to be playing these characters for so many years. You also got to figure out what adult actors are going to be playing these professors, these key figures in these upcoming years. And they found the perfect golden trio in Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson. Daniel Radcliffe, he like these actors, like they didn't have that much acting experience going into it. And that was a big work for Chris Columbus, who luckily had that experience working with child actors in the first two Home Alone films. And if you see some of the behind the scenes work, he's got a lot of patience. He knows how to make it fun for the kids. And being someone who works in childcare themselves, I see the patience, like how well Chris Columbus works with these kids at a young age, getting them to work, helping them like with their cues and all that. So with Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, this is a perfect casting choice. Even from the first film, he was great in this role. He captures the spirit of Harry Potter, being this boy that's been through a lot, that's being mistreated by his awful relatives, but he's still a caring, kind, brave kid that can also be sassy when it comes to his enemies like Draco Malfoy. played by Tom Felton. And I gotta say, Tom Felton does such a great job of playing this loathsome, horrible kid that's obviously bigoted, that looks down upon others, particularly the Weasley family, because they're poor while the Malfoy family is rich. But Tom Felton also does such a great job. Rupert Grint is great as Harry's best friend, Ron Weasley, playing this insecure, a bit lazy, but also brave and loyal friend to Harry's. And Emma Watson as Hermione Granger, the brightest in their class, who can also be a bit know-it-all, but at the same time is caring and wants to help Harry and Ron do the right thing when they discover the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone is secretly in the school under the trap door that the three-headed dog Fluffy is guarding. And it's not just the kids that were perfectly casted. Alan Rickman as Severus Snape, one of the best performances in this franchise. Right when you see this character, you don't know if you can trust him or not. He doesn't seem to like Harry, but at the same time, we later discover like he's protecting Harry as well as the Sorcerer's Stone. We're led to believe that he's going after the stone, but then we find out he's trying to protect it. And then, of course, you got Richard Harris playing Dumbledore. He does such a phenomenal job playing the calm, grandfatherly figure of Dumbledore. And he knew his health was declining, but he still took the role because his granddaughter wanted him to play as Dumbledore. So that kind of commitment, even though you know that you're not in the best of shape, is really phenomenal. And of course, you got Maggie Smith playing Professor McGonagall, the caring but strict transfiguration professor that's also Harry's head of Gryffindor House. And Robbie Coltrane as Hagrid, the first adult who seems to care about Harry, that showed Harry genuine kindness and gave him his first birthday gift in Hedwig. So, like, all these characters that are going to be appearing in all or most of these films, they do such a great job of establishing these adult figures, and of course, showing them what they mean to Harry later on in these films. And of course, you've got the set pieces, like I said, Hogwarts looks great, Diagon Alley looks great. The amount of effort, like, really needs to be praised. And of course, like, as Harry's being introduced into the Wizarding World, we, the audience, is also being introduced to this new world. And yeah, like, sometimes some people will say, oh, they're just like introducing stuff. Oh, there's Ollivanders, there's Gringotts, there's this, there's that. But again, it's similar to the books. Harry's not familiar with this kind of stuff. The Dursleys never really told him about his history because they don't like wizards. They look at wizards as freaks. So, of course, Hagrid's going to be introducing him to all this stuff. And while this is probably the most faithful adaptation to the book, this doesn't have everything in the book. The character piece, the poltergeist, was cut out. They don't include Malfoy challenging Harry to a midnight duel in this film. But again, it feels like the way they were able to get around those elements still works. They still maintained keeping the spirit of Sorcerer's Stone and do such a great job of resembling the book. And there's a lot of fun moments in this film as well. You got the Quidditch match that's fun to watch. I will admit the CGI in the Quidditch match does look probably the most outdated out of all the special effects in this film, but it's still fun to watch. You also got the mountain troll sequence where ultimately Harry and Ron become friends with Hermione after saving her. That's pretty scary, but also like entertaining at the same time. The three-headed dog Fluffy, that's very intense. And this film also has some very heartfelt moments, like when Harry's looking in the mirror and he's seeing his parents for the first time. And then, of course, at the end of the film, where Hagrid gives Harry the photo album of his parents with baby Harry, like moments like that really capture the spirit of Harry Potter. And of course, John Williams' brilliant score for this film. To me, it's his score work in the films that is the best out of any in the Harry Potter franchise. Like, obviously, like when you hear like Hedwig's theme, when you hear any of John Williams' Harry Potter scores, you think right away, oh, that's Harry Potter. You recognize it right away because he's made it so iconic. And while this is a more family-oriented Harry Potter film, Chris Columbus's the first two Harry Potter films basically are, this film also has some dark moments in it, particularly the flashback sequence where we see Voldemort wearing a hood going to the Potter home in Godric's Hollow, killing Harry's mom and failing to kill baby Harry. And then, of course, you see Voldemort on the back of Professor Quirrell's head, And yeah, that used to scare me as a kid, as well as the Forbidden Forest sequence where he's drinking the blood from a unicorn. Obviously, it's not the darkest moments in Harry Potter, but it was pretty scary as a kid. But the way like Chris Columbus is able to capture those brief dark moments, he also does very well in doing so. And of course, we've got the trapdoor sequence where they're going through the challenges, the devil's snare, the flying keys, the giant chess set, all of it, which is phenomenal. The amount of work they put into like making this giant chessboard and like the chess pieces, says they really went all out. They really took a big risk, especially when you look at franchises today that try to adapt themselves from books. Franchises like Percy Jackson and others that fail in their first or two movies, and because of that, they don't go somewhere. Like looking back, I think people need to appreciate the Harry Potter films more. Yeah, they don't get everything right from the books, but they did compared to other movies based off of books, probably the one of the best jobs ever. Now, to me, I think Lord of the Rings is probably still the best franchise with that, but the Harry Potter films did such a phenomenal job of establishing everything. And you've seen how far this franchise has come since the Sorcerer's Stone. And outside of maybe like a few cringy moments with the child actors, like with some of the line delivery, for example, when Hermione's like, "How can you be nearly headless?" Or like some of the line delivery from like Tom Felton and like a couple other kids. And yeah, the Quidditch, while it's fun to watch, it does look a bit outdated. Overall, Sorcerer's Stone, like now as a kid, now as an adult, sorry, after watching this film so many times throughout the last 20 something years, I've grown to appreciate it a lot more than I did when I was a teenager. To me, it's one of the best Harry Potter movies in the franchise. And all in all, I'm going to give Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone an A. This is probably one of my favorite childhood movies. It's one of my earliest theater experiences. Definitely, I think it's my first theater experience with a live action film. I can't really remember if there were any before that, but it was definitely one of my first. And since then, I just love this franchise. I love the characters. I love the actors and how they perform these characters. I love the setting. I love the score. I love the movie magic that the Harry Potter franchise has brought to us the past 20 years. And I'm looking forward to talking more about these films and the new characters, the continuing great performances of these characters. But yeah, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, I give this film an A, and it's probably one of my top four favorite Harry Potter movies of all time. So, what'd you guys think about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And by the way, this is coming out on July 31st, which is Harry Potter's birthday. So, yeah, happy birthday to one of my favorite franchise characters, one of my favorite pop culture characters of all time. And what did you think about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And what was the first Harry Potter film you saw in theaters? For me, it was Sorcerer's Stone. I know not everyone one's first Harry Potter movie in theaters was Sorcerer's Stone. So tell me what was your first Harry Potter experience in the comments down below. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already. If you haven't, please share this with someone that loves the Harry Potter franchise. And I'll see you guys real soon. Next weekend, I'm continuing the Kevin Smith reviews with Chasing Amy on Saturday. And I will be reviewing Chamber of Secrets in August. I don't know when in August. Could be earlier, could be later in August. We'll see. In the meantime, take care, everyone.